Okay, we're now starting Perik Gimel. Chelik Aleph Perik Gimel. Malchus Koilel. Malchus Koilel. What does this mean? So, right here in the beginning, he does a little review that we were talking about how the king, how Malchus works, that the king himself is uplifted, and how it affects the rest of the nation as well. How HaKadosh Baruch Hu uplifts the entire creation of the world, completes it, and lifts it higher than what it was through Shabbos. But of course, the main thing is the chassan, like we discussed in the past. The king himself brings the true simcha and the true the highest levels that can come don't come from creation. They come from Hashem himself. Now he's getting into a little bit of a new topic, and there's a long introduction in order to explain this topic, which is what most of the next number of pages are about. So I'm going to go not so much inside and explain outside what's happening over here. And that is, he starts off to ask a question. What is it that a king in general does? Right? What does the king do in the world? What's the purpose? What's the purpose of the king? What does he bring? So law and order, yeah. But more than that, there's a certain depth. There's a certain depth to what we're going to be discussing over here, because law and order a lot of times could just be based on local policemen. And who regulates them is very good. But if you look at, let's say, for example, let's look at Klal Yisrael after they came into Eretz Yisrael. They had a leader, Yoshua ben Nun. And after Yoshua ben Nun passed away, so there were tekufas where there were shoftim, and there were tekufas where there was no shoftim. Right? And even the tekufas... Right, but that is true. Those are the two major scandals. But it says every number of years that the Bnei Yisrael will fall back into Avodah Zarah, and because of that, other nations will start to rule them. Right? So was there a central authority figure? The shofet was a shofet, right? But did he have a government? Did he have the ability to rule, to make? Was he a king? Pashtus says that he wasn't a king like we know that Shaul was a king and David was a king. Was Dvoira HaNeviah, who was a shofetes, was she on the status of being a king? Maybe halachically to a certain degree, maybe yes, but did it create what was necessary for what we call a king to create a kingdom? What is that? So he comes and he starts to explain what the idea of koilel is. What does it mean to be of koilel? So he says that we in Gematria, sometimes we have this idea of koilel, which means that when we take a word, we add up all the letters of the word, and all the letters of the word come out to a certain number, right? So if all the letters of the word come out to a certain number, we can also add one. Meaning if you're off by one, you can add one. Now, is that some kind of game that you can play with gematrias, and sometimes you can add one and sometimes you can't add one? What is that? So he comes and he explains, no, that's not how that works. He gives a dugma. The dugma that he gives is to a table. A table with 4 legs. So you have 4 legs, and you have a tabletop. So how many pieces do you have in total to this table? You have 5 pieces. 4 different legs, and 1 top. So you have 5 pieces of the table. So you might say that the value of the table is 5, because it has 5 pieces. So what's the idea of koilel? The idea of koilel is that you have all of these 5, whether or not the 5 pieces are put together or not. You can have all 5 pieces laying around next to each other, and you'll also have 5 pieces. Or you can put them together. The putting them together itself is something. Even though you're not adding anything to this, all the pieces are there already. Everything is there already, but when you put it together, it creates something usable. You don't just have 5 pieces of wood, 4 skinny pieces of wood and 1 big piece of wood. You have a table. So that extra aspect of putting the things together, putting the pieces together, that's that extra 1. And just as much as that is true with regards to actual physical things, it's the same thing is true for a word. a word also has different letters to it. So each letter on its own has a value. So you take all the letters on their own and you add their value, so you get to a certain amount. But that same amount would be even if each letter was independent and it didn't make the word. Making the word itself is that extra one. It's the thing that combines everything. It's not adding from itself, but it's taking all the pieces that are already here and putting them together and making them useful. That is worth that extra one. So sometimes you can have a gematria with it, and sometimes without it, because there is a good reason to add to it. But it doesn't always have to be added to it. This is the idea behind Malchus Koilel. The Malchus is the koyach that bring things together. We said in the past that the idea of Malchus is that Malchus doesn't have anything of itself. It doesn't have anything of itself at all. And it's the same thing over here. The Malchus doesn't have anything of itself. What it's doing is it brings together other pieces in order to make a complete unit. That's the idea of koilel. It's not just also that it brings together the pieces, but it elevates it. It gives it a use. It gives it a meaning. So when you take the example of the table again that he gives, that 4 pieces of wood and a bigger piece on their own don't have any meaning. They don't have any structure. It's just pieces of wood. You want to use it for a Lag BaOmer fire. You want to use it, right? It doesn't have any particular meaning. But when you put them together, now this can be used in a way that we weren't able to use it before. Now it has a meaning. This is true about any individual item, and it's true about the way that Hashem created the world as well. So when we're looking at what Malchus is, right? Malchus is the keter, like we said before. It's coming from a higher place. And what's it doing? It's taking all the pieces and putting all the pieces together to make something usable, to make something real. So in the Malchus in the world, you have a country that has a government. What is the government doing? The government is putting all the people together in that area and saying, we are one nation. We are one nation, and we are going to do something together. We are going to act together. We're going to make rules together. We're becoming one nation. That's what the government, or really what the king, is supposed to be doing. Yes, it's true, in order for this to work, you have to have laws, and you have to have regulations. The king needs to have men in order to enforce his laws, in order to make everybody go in line. Maybe people will rebel and say, no, we don't like what the rules that the king is making. Yes, it's true. All these things are all the technical details that come into a kingdom working. But the idea behind the kingdom is that the king unites everyone together and makes them one. That brings us to the end of Ois Aleph, the first part of Perek Gimel. Taking this mashal to the next step, he explains that when it comes to this idea applied to a real king and a kingdom and a nation, so the way it applies is as follows. If you have a lot of people living in a certain area, what gives them any unity? What gives those people unity? Everybody is an individual. What do I have anything to do with my neighbor? Right? You can go and live in certain areas. You don't even know who your neighbors are. Places like Brooklyn. Right? You don't even know you don't know your neighbors at all. The truth is, in Queens, it's like that also. Right? What binds us together? Well, there's something called being a citizen. I'm a citizen of the country. So what binds us is that we're all Israelis, we're all Americans, we're all French, we're all... Why? Because that's what the king does. The king makes it that we are one unifying country. You are a citizen of our country. The king and the kingdom is what unites us all. We are all one nation. And nowadays, nationalism is kind of out. It's considered to be like racist, right? Except when it comes to Jews, but we're going to get to Jews in a second. Everybody has to be accepting of everybody else. Yeah, if you're nationalistic, then you're a racist. You're right. So that's what's a breakdown of society.
But this week, today actually, the mayor posted sent out an email. My son invited to my party.
Who's not invited to the party?
The white.
Whites are not invited to my party? Okay, there you go. That's a breakdown. That's a perfect example of a breakdown of unity. Because the point of the government is to create unity, to create one nation, to create one people. And by excluding groups, they were making a breakdown of that unity. You're not fulfilling the purpose of being a leader. You're a citizen of the country. Imagine, you're a citizen of the country, everybody but the Jews. So that's a breakdown. You're being excluded. We're saying that people who live here you're not part of our country. You're not. We have to be more inclusive. So if you are an American, so it's because I was born in America and I'm an American citizen. It means I have my rights as an American citizen, and the American government is supposed to take care of me. You ever look on the inside of a passport? At least an American passport. I don't know the other passports, but on the inside of an American passport, it says, the Secretary of State of the United States of America hereby requests that the owner of this passport is given free right to travel anywhere that he wants. The Secretary of State is requesting, meaning the highest political appointed figure in the international world, is asking for you to be given the right to travel wherever you want. Why? Because you're an American citizen. The American citizenship comes because you are part of America. And the government holds that dear because that's their whole point. The point is to be united. So if somebody gives a smack to an American citizen, he's giving a smack to the whole America. The whole America. The example that he gives here is a Persian, a Parsi. What makes you a Persian? Persia makes you a Persian. That's what makes you. That's what makes you that group. France makes you French. If everybody was just doing whatever they want, there would be no protection. There would be nobody that's going to stand up for you. Uniting gives a much stronger power. You hurt one person, you hurt us all. That's how a country unites. That comes from the king. And here is where we brings in Klal Yisrael. Here on the bottom of Daf Chof Hey, in Os Beis, Kachu b'chol umma b'loshon. That's the way it is with every nation, every language. Kachu b'am Yisrael. It's that way with Klal Yisrael too. Kiyesh kvutza shel yechidim. If we were all just individuals, lazeh yikra Ruven, lazeh yikra Shimon. Each one has their own name. Eze chashivas yesh lo Ruven or Shimon ki yechidim. Somebody hurts this one, okay, nobody's going to care. What makes us united? But when we take our king, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu is our king, and he makes us one nation, we become one nation because the Kodesh Baruch Hu is our king. Now you're not Reuven and Shimon anymore. Rather, you're a Yehudi, you're a Jew. Through the Malchus, that you become changed. You get a new name, you get a new status. You're a citizen. What are you a citizen of? You're a citizen of God's nation. And that's what he goes on to explain. What does the name Yehudi come from? Yehudi comes from Yehuda. What's Yehuda? Yehuda is a Shem Hashem, with one little extra dalet added. Right? If you're an America, you're an American. So that's what Yehudi is. That's what the Yehuda is. You're Hashem. You're Hashem's nation. But you're with the Dalet. What's a Dalet? We'll explain in the next paragraph what the Dalet is in another minute or so. But this is what it means to be a Jew. The Jew is the same name, Kiviyachol, like American, French, Israeli. A Jew means I'm part of a nation. Which nation am I part of? I'm part of God's nation. God is my king. I don't have a president. I don't have a prime minister. Those are not my leaders. My leader is Rebbeinu Shalom. Even when we have a king, the king is only there to represent the Kodesh Baruch Hu as well. He's also a citizen. That's why the king is not above, he's from the nation. He's put above because he needs to be in that leadership position. But he's taken from amongst our brothers. That he is the leader because he is also a member of the Jewish nation. So a person who hits a Jew, it's mamish like he's hitting Hashem. A person that attacks the Jewish people is mamish like they're attacking Hashem. Because we are all one nation and we are represented by our king. Just as much as an affront to any American is an affront to the American leadership, to American president, that's as much, or even more maybe, that a Jew who gets attacked, I'm part of the Jewish nation. And God is my king. You're insulting Hashem himself. So what's the Dalit? So he explains over here in the second paragraph in page Chavov. Mawa Dalit b'mila Yehuda. Nuvan ha-Dalit u'milashon dala v'aniya. Dalit represents down, that you're weak, that you're poor, I don't have anything. Les la migar maklum, I don't have anything on my own. Like we've discussed in the past, there's nothing that has less than anything else in a mirror. Why? Because you look at a mirror, you don't see anything. You see yourself. What do you mean? I'm looking for that thing I'm looking for a thing. No, I'm not looking for myself, but that's exactly the point. The mirror doesn't have a pure mirror, like we've discussed in the past. It doesn't have anything of its own. Only what it gets from others, that is what a mirror has. What it reflects what it has that it gains from others. Anything that's opposite a mirror will be reflected. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter how low it is. It will always be reflected. Which means even the lowest thing is bigger than a mirror. You can look at a mirror again and again, and you won't see the same thing each time. Each time you look at it, you see something else. I'm wearing a different color shirt today. I'm with other people today. And it looks different each time you look at it. When we discussed this also earlier in previous brokim, that the moon is also a form of a mirror because it reflects the light of the sun. It doesn't have any of its own light. You don't see the moon. When you're looking in the sky, do you see the moon? No, you don't see the moon. What you see is a reflection of the sun. Because if there was no reflection of the sun, you wouldn't see the moon. That's what you see. You see the sun. You see the light of the sun. Gam Hashem Levano, hu al Shem Oira Halavan. The name Levana itself, the name moon itself, is given because of the light of the white light that it gives off from the sun. She'ein ze or Levana klal, elo or Hashemesh. That's what it is. It's reflecting the light of the sun. Aval be'emes ein gedoyle u'mushares bimenu. But really, the fact that it has nothing, there's nothing greater than that. But that's really what the beauty of a mirror is. Because it has the ability to reflect the greatest things. And that's what he comes to explain, that even though we, Klal Yisrael, we're Dal, we're that Dalid, we're reflecting Shem Hashem. And that's what the name Yehuda comes from. It comes from Hashem, that we are reflecting Hashem. We are the nation of Hashem. Hashem made us together His nation. And by being His nation, we have to reflect Him. We have to reflect the values through the Torah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us, which show the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants the world to run. And we are the people that were given that tachlis in the world. And that's what it means. We are the nation of Hashem. And that's what it means that king is koilel. That the malchus takes us all together, and we are the Jewish nation. And that's what he says here in the second to last paragraph. That's what a Jew is. That it's through accepting on ourselves the Malchus of Hashem. Masha Kodesh Baruch Hu Melech Yisrael U'me'ached Kulam Liot Am Yehudi. Hashem takes the Jewish people and says, "You're my nation. I'm making you one. I'm making you my nation, my representative." Nimtza Shekol Echem Yisrael Hu Dalid Hamishtakif Misoich Hashem Havaya Bet. We are the Dalid through which you can see the Shem Hashem. And that's what a Jew is. Mare, he's a mirror. That you see through the mirror of the Jew the way what you see Hashem. That's the way we're supposed to be acting, at least. That's the purpose of our existence here in this world, what a Jew is supposed to be doing. That's why the name of Yehuda is the basis for Malchus. Yehuda is Malchus. Malchus Beis David, which is the reflection of the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to be seen in this world, comes through Yehuda. Because that's what Yehuda means. That's what the word means. That's Hashem with the reflection of Shem Hashem. So we're just going to finish up over here. Kol Yisrael Nikraim Yehudim. It's not just Shevet Yehuda is called Yehudim. We're all called Jews. Even we know in the Megillah it says Ish Yehudi Haya B'Shushan Habira. But he wasn't from Yehuda. He was from Binyamin. Mordechai was from Shevet Binyamin. So why is it called him Ish Yehudi? Because that's the name of our citizenship. We are called a Jew, even if you're not from Shevet Yehuda. That's what you're called. Kimosh HaParsi Nikra Parsi Mipnei Shemishtakef Darchu Malchus Paros. The Persian, it's called Persian because he reflects the government, the king of Persia. The French reflect the French. Misha Royo is a Royas Melech Paros. Misha Pogea Bo Lera Pogea B'Melech Paros. Somebody hits him, it's like you're hitting the king of Persia. Kacha Yehudi Nikra Yehudi Mipnei Shemishtakefes Misoicho Malchus Havaya Baruch Hu. Because we can see through a Jew, this is a reflection of Hashem. Misha Royas or Royas Melech Yisrael. Somebody who sees a real Jew. A Jew the way that he's supposed to be a Jew, the way that the HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the Torah, that we person should acting as a Torah true Jew. He's a reflection of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world, and people see through him. This is who Melech Yisrael is. Misha Pogea Bo Lera, somebody who hurts a Jew. Ki'ilu hara lemala kiviyachol. It's like he's hurting HaKadosh Baruch Hu kiviyachol. V'akei nema ru'u kol amei haaretz ki shem Hashem nikra alecha v'yiru mimecha. That's what the pasuk says, is all the nations of the world will see that Hashem's name is dafka called on you. It's a tremendous responsibility that we represent the Kodesh Baruch Hu. And it's for this very reason that many people hate Jews. It's because they really hate Hashem. That's the reason. They don't want to be subjugated. You see Hitler, Yamach Shemo, what his writings were. You can see that he has a war against Hashem.
1930s, 2023, all those kids.
That's true, but the reason why I was bringing the Yamach Shemonik, the Nazi Yamach Shemo, as a raya is because he wrote a book. And in his book, he writes about how much he hates the Jewish people. But you can see in his writings, it wasn't really just he was going to war against the Jewish people. He was going to war against the Torah. He was going to war against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what Amalek is. Amalek they're fighting against Klal Yisrael because they want to fight against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's why we have a responsibility to destroy nations like this. Because they're going against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We are the representatives of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world. And it's our responsibility, and it's a big responsibility, to be aware of that. That we're reflecting HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what I am. I'm a Jew. I'm a Jew. I reflect HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How does this relate to Shabbos? We'll have to continue for next time.